This conference will now be recorded.
So if we talk about the prerequisite to install the vCenter server. So for installation of vCenter server, you must need to establish at least one domain controller in our environment. Second important part means your ESXi must be connected with domain controller, should be a part of domain. DNS should be perform the task. DNS can working properly to resolve the name, and you should download the ISO image of vCenter server. And if we talk about the installation, so we have a two different way to install vCenter server 6.5. One is vCenter server and another is vCenter server appliance. So need to know about the gap between the vCenter server and vCenter server appliance. So in last session we discussed about the procedure how to install vCenter server appliance, not a vCenter server. So let me explain you about the gap between vCenter and vCenter server appliance. How you can identify means means we have a both way, and it's up to you which method you want to use to establish your vCenter services in
Manjeet,
our virtual
sorry.
environment. Tell me,
Please
please.
start the recording also. Recording.
This
Thanks.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so our agenda to understand about the concept of vCenter server, and we should know about the how many method, how many way we have to establish or configure the vCenter server. So I'm going to define you about the gap are different between vCenter server and vCenter server appliance. So in case of vCenter server, like you are planning to establish vCenter server, and second, we are also responsible to understand about vCenter server appliance. The gap between each other, what happen in case of server, what you need to do, you need to install one ESXi host, okay, and we must need to establish one domain controller. As we know that you should be install Active Directory domain services. It may be a server 2016 or 2012 or 2019. It's up to you. And your ESXi should be connected with the ESXi host, means you must need to convert your ESXi and make it member of domain controller. Second important part, in case of vCenter server, you should create one more server operating system. You must need to install a one more server in separate computer. The configuration for vCenter server, what you need to do, you need to use minimum 10 gig of RAM, which is a separate machine where you need to install server operating system, 2 core of CPU, and up to 100 gig of space, 100 gig of HDD and free space. These all are the prerequisite before installation of vCenter server. Make sure in your server machine should be contain these configuration. And step first, you need to convert your server machine from work group to domain, means you can say that join domain controller. Your server, second server should be joined domain controller, which is mandatory. And then download ISO image of ESXi, not ESXi, vCenter server, ISO of vCenter, and mount on second server machine. And third one, proceed to install. This is the first way to install the vCenter server in virtual environment. Second step, what we need to do in case of second step, you should install one ESXi.
Manjeet,
Tell me, please.
the first server is the domain controller,
Correct.
and the second will be the child domain controller, or it will be a
Not,
domain
no,
controller.
no, no, no. Do not make child domain controller. Do not make it additional
It's
domain
independent.
independent, but should be convert from workgroup to domain.
Okay, fine.
For name resolution, as you know that if you want to use DNS services, you must need to convert your workgroup machine to domain. Is it correct?
Correct.
So for the conversion, for the naming services, you just need to convert it from workgroup to domain. That's it. I'm
I
going
have to
to
make
today I'm going to
miss.
show you the
I have to make
comparison.
a new domain controller.
Uh, no. Sorry, could you please repeat again?
The first one, the server, I installed the Active Directory. Okay,
Correct.
and suppose make I made a domain abcd.com. Okay,
Okay.
the second server which you are saying, I will create Active Directory for this one and a domain, or the
No,
same
no,
domain I can use it.
no. You need to use same ABC that you configure. For example, the first domain
Okay,
that you created with name of abc.com. Correct.
okay,
So second server, you should make it member of ABC. That's it.
okay, خلاص. Okay, got
Just
the
like
point.
a just like a Windows 10 computer. What happened if we
Okay,
talk
fine.
about our real environment? So what's our
Yeah.
responsibility? We need to install one domain and multiple client
Yes, yes.
operating system, Windows 7, 10, 8, right? These
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
as a client machine, and our responsibility to just make a changes with users computer's property. Let me show you.
Sure,
Today I'm
sure.
going to define you each and every step. No worry about it.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
You're welcome. Like in my case, this one is our Windows 10 operating system, correct? So what we need to do in case of second server, open system properties, go to the advanced system setting, and just need to click change and make it abc.com. That's it. No need to install additional domain controller. No need to install any kind of role in second
Okay,
server
fine. Yeah, yeah,
where
got
you
the
plan
point.
to install the Active Directory service, where you
Okay.
plan to install the domain. Sorry, vCenter server. Now fine. Now, so these all are the steps that you need to use to configure the vCenter server. Today, I'm going to show you the practical how you can establish vCenter server on your server operating system. Second option that we discussed in last week. So in case of second server, if you go through the recording, what we did, we installed 1 ESXi with good configuration, like as we established the 13 gig of RAM, and I think 200 gig of HDD, and up to 4 core of CPU. That's it. This is the configuration for your vCenter server appliance. So in this case, what you need to do, very basic step, you must need to install domain controller. This one is our domain PC, right? And the domain controller, any domain name, you can proceed like the abc.com. So what you need to do in this case of appliance, so convert, not convert, add ESXi to domain member. That's it. You must need to join your ESXi to domain member. First step, second step, download. Do not download the ISO of server. Download the ISO of which one? vCenter server appliance. vCenter appliance. That's it. And select any of computer. It's not mandatory. You can use the same domain controller. Mount ISO of appliance on server computer. Just need to download and mount it. Select setup.exe and follow this step. That's it. That we have already completed. In last session, we discussed about the procedure to install vCenter server appliance. But nowadays, today, I'm just going to give you the information about how you can install the vCenter server. But question is that why we need to proceed with vCenter server? What is importance of appliance? So if you have a good resources, I'm talking about the hardware resources. If you have a multiple computers, if you establish a if you have a enough configuration based machines, so you must need to proceed with vCenter server. Do not use appliance, because what happen in case of whenever you establish your vCenter server on separate machines, so in this case we have a option to protect our entire environment. Means any problem occurred with our vCenter server, we are able to easily download the file and repair the file and restore our server machine easily. But in case of appliance, if any problem occurred with ESXi, then entire network, then entire virtual environment will be down. That's why if you have a enough configuration based environment, you must need to proceed with vCenter server on third or second server computer. Please let me know if you have any question or doubt, because I'm going to move ourselves to set up and give you the proper step how you can establish. Please let me know if you have any question.
You can proceed.
Thank you. So now I'm just going to show you. I have already installed this domain controller. This one is our domain machine. Let me use Windows 2012, not 2016, because it consumes much time. Not much time. It consumes much configuration. So in our case, I have already installed the domain controller. So we will use it as a primary domain controller. Okay. And I'm going to install one more server operating system that we will make as a, we will use as a vCenter server. So I'm going to start from very basic. So I'm just going to create one VM, and next server 2012 ISO image. Yes. vCenter server data center GUI, provide the password. vCenter server. Okay. Next, how much space? I want to provide at least 100 gig of space. Next, configuration RAM, as we discussed, we must need to provide at least 10 gig of hard drive, 10 gig of RAM. And should we use minimum 2 core of CPU? And I'm going to proceed with NAT, bridge connection, because I want to use my physical network environment. So we have a ESXi, we have a domain controller, and I'm just going to install one more server, and we will use it. We will install vCenter services in our uh, 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 second server machine, you can say. It is in progress. Once our server is ready to use, we will proceed for next step. It will take up to 5 to 7 minutes. So meanwhile, please go through the topics that we completed. If you have any question, let me know.
Manjeet,
Yeah, please.
I didn't get the PDF file yet. Could you share me just link, please?
Sure. Just allow me 5 minutes.
Sure.
This conference will now be recorded.
So what we need to do, we just need to open our domain controller that we have already created, class.com, the domain that I used, the name that I used, it's a class. Fine. So second system, vCenter server. The configuration of vCenter server, you know that I think 10 gig of RAM and 100 gig of hard drive and up to 2 core of CPU. So what we need to do, first of all, we just need to verify the IP address of our domain controller. So type ncpa.cpl and make sure you must need to configure manual IP address, which is mandatory for the name resolution. So yes, the IP address of our domain controller is 192.168.1.175. Fine. So we will use this IP address to convert our new server from workgroup to domain. But make sure your server should be resolved with the name. Means name to IP and IP to the name. Class.com is working fine. Back to the domain server computer that you just install. Open it and also need to configure a manual IP address in our new server computer. ncpa.cpl, configure manual IP address for your vCenter services, vCenter server, IPv4, and I'm just going to configure 192.168.1.200. By default, gateway IP address is 1.1, 192.168.1.1. Preferred DNS, you must need to use your root domain controller. So our root domain controller IP address is 175. We don't have any alternate, so 8.8.8, click on. And also need to turn off the firewall.cpl. Fine, no need to do anything. Need to check the communication between your server, domain controller to a second server that you established. CMD ping space 192.168.1.175. We are getting a reply from our domain controller. Yes. Back as it is, you need to verify the communication from domain to what we can say that our new server machine. 192.168.1.200. We are getting a reply to each other, right? It means that everything is fine. Both systems are communicating to each other. So what we need to do next step, open your second server, go to the system properties as we discussed, and convert it from workgroup to domain controller. Now the system is available in workgroup. Make sure system should be a part of domain controller. So our domain name is class.com. Provide name of our what we can say that user ID and password. And meanwhile, I'm also going to change the name of our computer, VCSA. Administrator and password. Welcome to the class.com. Close it. And it will be restart. Fine. And meanwhile, I'm just going to check the ISO image that I have already downloaded. So this time I'm going to open my base machine. Let me check the location of ISO image. Okay. So I think I downloaded the entire ISO image. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so let me verify the location of vCenter server. Yeah, this one is our vCenter server that I downloaded from directly VMware site. So what you need to do after converting your ESXi host, after converting your server from work group to domain, what we need to do, we just need to mount the same ISO image to our virtual machine. So how we can do that? Our ISO image location is software E vCenter server 6.4. Open your virtual machine, right click on your VM, simple step, go to the settings. Under the setting, we are able to find CD and DVD. Use ISO image file, browse, provide the location. So location is software and ISO image of vCenter 6.5. That's it. Open it and okay. Log in our system. Very basic step that we need to use to install the vCenter server. Open this PC and proceed to installation. Oh, we are unable to find our drive. Just wait, let me check it again. Should we connect? Sorry, should we connect and make sure you are using the same location? Click on the connected. Yeah. Now we are able to find 2.3 gig of ISO images successfully added. Right click and click open and proceed for installation. Proceed with auto run. Wait. But before that, before installation means before proceeding to install, you need to make few changes in DNS. So just wanted to know about what you think about the DNS, the use of DNS services. Imam, could you please explain the usage of DNS, why it is important, why any organization establish the DNS services? Fahad, do you want to add something related to the DNS services?
Oh, no, you can proceed. I think that's the good
Okay,
idea.
okay, no problem. So
Okay,
DNS is
thank
a
you.
basic, no problem, no problem. Let me explain you about the usage of DNS. So DNS can help us to resolve the name. Resolve the name in the sense, for example, in our system we establish a one name, right? VCSA. This is the computer, and one IP address as well. The IP address, I think it's 192.168.1.200, and the name of our computer is VCSA. So the work of DNS is basically resolve the name, means IP to the name resolution, IP to the name, and name to the IP. But you must need to set the recat. You must need to configure the recat. Back to the domain controller that you establish, means our Active Directory services server. Click Tools, select DNS. This is mandatory setting that we need to perform. Forward lookup zone, reverse lookup zone. Select forward lookup zone, open class.com, and we are able to find one option, one computer with name of VCSA. IP address of VCSA is 192.168.1.200. Fine. Back to the DNS settings and create a one reverse lookup zone. Right click, new zone, next, make it primary zone, next, next, and provide the network ID 192.168.1. That's it. Click next, next, and finish. We are unable to find the VCSA here in reverse lookup zone. So back to the class.com. Right click on your domain computer name properties and make sure update associated pointer PTR, which is considered as a PTR pointer record. Select apply and OK. Refresh the environment, refresh the reverse lookup zone as well. Yes, we are able to find the full name of our vCenter is vcsa.class.com. VCSA is a server name and class.com is our domain computer. Now, next step, now we are able to install vCenter server. Very basic step that we need to use. Open auto run and click install. Follow the step, follow the procedure. Okay, already in progress, so we just need to wait. Okay, installation is preparing to install. Wait for a few minutes. It is initializing, so we just need to wait. Click next. I accept the term and license. Click next again. Again, next, no need to do anything. Proceed with embedded. vcsa.class.com, the name of your computer that you establish. Next, FQDN. This is really important. Provide the SSO password. So password must be complex. So I'm just going to use common password. And minimum 12 character required. Click next. Next, no need to do anything. Proceed next. These all are the logical ports. As we know that every computer system, right? Every computer system contain, I think, 65,535 logical ports. So it's our responsibility. We must need to know about the usage of these logical numbers. So here we are able to find HTTP port number 80, HTTPS 43. So no need to make any changes here. Click next, 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 and install. It is in progress. Now this is the final step, and it will take up to maybe it's depend upon the configuration. So we using, I think, 10 gig of RAM. So maybe it will take time of 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so it will take time. So can we take a small break, just 10-minute break and connect again?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, Manjeet.
Yeah, thank you.